You're up.
Alrighty, Soul Asylum, Grave Dancers Union. In the opening montage, you heard a clip from Runaway Train, and now you're going to hear Union by Soul Asylum. Comes in at number 565 in the 1990s on Best Ever Albums, number 56 in 1992, number 3,225 of all time. It is Soul Asylum's highest rated album on Best Ever Albums. Was not on Rolling Stone's list, and Soul Asylum is ranked number 1,776 of overall artist rankings on Best Ever Albums. And yeah, this is the first time we are covering them. I believe it's probably the only time we are covering them. Grave Dancers Union is actually their 6th studio album. They have a total of 12, with the most recent being 2020's Hurry Up and Wait. So that was released a couple years ago. Grave Dancers Union was released on October 6th, 1992. And the genres here, alternative rock, grunge, country rock, and in the early years they were described as punk rock. Influenced by several artists including Husker Du, Tom Petty, Minor Threat, Neil Young, The Replacements, Black Flag, Dead Kennedys, The Germs, and The Minutemen.
Some of those I don't hear this at all.
I know. I think that they've kind of, throughout their years, they've had different kind of sounds and stuff too. So, Peers, Goo Goo Dolls, Lemonheads, Gin Blossoms, Nirvana, Screaming Trees, Stone Temple Pilots, Cracker, Matthew Sweet, the Jayhawks, Wilco, and the Wallflowers. They had some artists that they influenced, but I don't know, man. Like, these artists seem to be peers to me. I don't know who can get influenced by this, but they said Counting Crows, Everclear, Urge Overkill. The only one I might say is Train. I could see Train being influenced by Soul Asylum, but the other ones seem more contemporaries to me. But anyway.
Train.
Yeah. That's a low bar. Soul Asylum's highest charting song is Runaway Train. That hit number 5 on the Billboard charts. And their highest charting album is the one that comes after this, 1995's Let Your Dim Light Shine. That hit number 6 on the Billboard charts. A little bit about the band. They were formed in 1981 in Minneapolis, originally called Loud Fast Rules, but then they changed their name to Soul Asylum. They've had a number of different band members, but mainly it's been Dave Pirner on lead vocals and guitar, Dan Murphy on lead guitar and backing vocals, Carl Mueller on bass, and Grant Young on drums, along with Sterling Campbell, who played percussion and drums. And this album actually saw the departure of Grant Young and the introduction of Sterling Campbell. So they kind of, they did like the Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, kind of thing. They just, switched one for the other, essentially, is what happened. So, the big song on this album is obviously Runaway Train. It actually won a Grammy for the best rock song in 1994. Dave Pirner said that he wrote the song after he was suffering a nervous breakdown. He thought he was losing his hearing, and he started playing an acoustic guitar, and the song came out of that. He would use a runaway train as a metaphor for the depression that was spinning out of control in his life, or at least that he felt was spinning out of control. But the video was a big thing. John pass that on to Josh, because Josh never watched MTV. I guess we never fully said that. Like, I thought you came to it later, Josh, but so it's good that you're getting schooled on these videos. Yeah,
I think when I came to MTV, I wasn't even watching the videos. It was just like real world.
Oh yeah, you were just doing the shows. Yeah,
so I was not in the music sphere.
Well, this was a big video, and this had obviously the theme here was the video was, there was actually 3 different versions of it, and they had, spliced within those versions were pictures of different missing children and teenagers. And depending on kind of where you lived, they would show you a different version. So you were more likely to see, if the kid came from that region, so it was actually calculated to try to find some of these kids, So there were a total of
21 kids, right?
26. There was a total of 36 that they used throughout all the videos, and 26 were found at various stages after the video aired. So, and some of them were actually, when they were found, they were actually found deceased. So it was definitely like a huge deal to try to, like a huge public service announcement, if let's see. They also performed at the inauguration of Bill Clinton, his first inauguration on January 20th, 1993. And later, they played Sexual Healing for the AIDS benefit album No Alternative, which was an album that I owned, and it was the first time I ever heard Sexual Healing. So I thought that Marvin Gaye covered Soul Asylum when I first heard him sing that.
That's the most Matt comment ever.
I remember Matt sharing that at when we covered Marvin Gaye, and it's still as horrible a tidbit as it was then.
And doesn't make it not true. So I didn't know this. The Replacements' Tommy Stinson was a member of Soul Asylum from 2005 to 2012. He had to take some hiatus breaks between those times because he had to go tour with Guns N' Roses. So he was a man of many bands. Yeah, he was all over the place.
So he was in Soul Asylum and Guns N' Roses at the same time?
You got that straight. Yep.
Wow.
Yep. So, in sad news, the bassist Carl Mueller actually was diagnosed with throat cancer in 2004 and passed away on June 17th, 2005. Dan Murphy left the band in October of 2012 to focus on his personal life. And I think we might have talked about this before, maybe with the Jayhawks, maybe with Prince as well, but they have been honored. Soul Asylum has been honored with a star outside the mural of the Minneapolis nightclub First Avenue. So it's kind of like Minneapolis's own personal Hollywood Walk of Fame. So they have a star there. And people say that receiving a star there might be the most prestigious public honor an artist can receive in the city of Minneapolis. So there you go. So Soul Asylum, first time, only time covering them. We'll start with John. What are your thoughts on this record?
My thoughts are like, this is the most 90s album ever. It's like the classic, when you have like $15 to spend on a CD, you buy a CD, and the question becomes, if the 3 songs you bought the CD for are good, is that enough to carry the rest of the CD? Because even in terms of how they loaded this, it's like the 3 singles are right up front. They're right there. Someone to Shove, Black Gold, and Runaway Train. The 3 songs that were on the radio a lot, and they're there, and they're all very good songs. And then I feel like this album, I'm not going to say falls off the cliff because it's not bad, but gets into a much more generic, forgettable lane for me. It's almost like, the rest of it's almost like paint by numbers, 90s alternative rock. Dave Pirner is a good songwriter, and I mean, certainly a song like Runaway Train is a fantastic song. So I do want to call out that even when the songs for me, musically get a little bit more generic, the songwriting is still strong. But yeah, I think, my interpretation of Soul Asylum is they're a 90s band that sold well, but they don't, outside of Runaway Train, have a lot of songs that I love. On this album, the other 2 I just mentioned are there. The next album, they have a song I actively dislike called Misery. That was a pretty big hit.
It was.
I think Dave Pirner lost his songwriting ability with that song. I don't know what went on there, but I struggled to write stuff down because I said it's got all the hallmarks of 90s rock. It's angsty. It's guitar driven. It's not jangly, I'd say. No, it's not super distorted. There's not really feedback on it. I wouldn't say it's aggressive. I wouldn't say it's dark. There's just there's nothing really that stands out to me. It's not bad and it's not offensive. It's just there for me. So it's the definition of an average album for me. And I kept thinking to myself, if I spent $15 to $18 on this album, would I have been satisfied? Would I have been neutral? Or would I have been angry? And I vacillated between how I would have felt, because that was the CD buying experience, right? Mm-hmm. If you bought in the 90s. Then there's BMG or Columbia House. The question is, if you got this as 10 for 1, you'd probably be okay. But if they accidentally sent it to you and you had to buy it, right, you probably wouldn't have loved this as much. You'd be like, oh shit, this album isn't as good as I thought it was. So I've got a little bit more I could say I could add in, but that's my initial take on this one. Yeah, Josh, what do you think?
I was a little thrown by this album the first time listening to it. I think I assumed it was going to be like a grunge rock band. I only knew Runaway Train, which I think is a great song and one that I always like singing and hearing whenever it comes on, and despite kind of the darker maybe nature of it. That
you mean the video where the baby gets stolen at the end?
Yeah, that's pretty
gut wrenching.
Yeah, that changed it for me actually watching.
Okay,
that
why
video.
is that woman leaving her baby on a sidewalk while she's shopping in a store for minutes on end?
I don't think you're supposed to make judgments, Matt. I think it's supposed to be how horrible.
Right.
Why is the old woman driving around looking for babies?
Yeah, why is she doing that too? It was like, talk about the wrong place at the wrong anyway.
Yeah.
Well, it's supposed to be like Black Market Babies, and I think that
Yeah.
baby was
Shit,
rumored
man, that
to
is
be
dark.
Black Market. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
And this band is much more of a mishmash than I had, expected. They have kind of a classic rock sound that they're capitalizing on. They kind of lean into arena rock at times. They lean in. You mentioned country rock, Matt. I think the song "Homesick" is
Yep.
kind of like veers into that as well. And so they're all kind of like dabbling in these different things that you can hear. Maybe even like a little bit of punk rock at times. But really just every time it's just like a toe over the line into that genre, and they just kind of stay in kind of the guitar based sound that John described. I thought this was a good album. I think I'm kind of in line with what John said. It's a good album. It's not a great album. It's not even like a very good album. I thought it was pleasant to listen to, and I was kind of like, I thought, I don't know, in a way it was refreshing because it didn't sound like a lot of the stuff we've listened to recently. It's not like, I guess it doesn't really have like a specific point of view, and maybe that's to its detriment. It's not even like the Blind Melon album we listened to, which was like more Southern rock. It's just kind of like, I guess because they're from Minneapolis, maybe it's like it's a kind of regionless rock and roll, or maybe it is like Midwestern rock. Like that song "April Fool" could almost be like a Kiss song or something, given the right circumstances. And just ending with the Sun Maid and the tuba in that, and kind of being acoustic and unusual compared to the rest of the album. So there's really a lot of different things on here. I get what John's saying about it kind of being weak and falling off. I think it was strong enough that, it kept my interest and I enjoyed listening to it. And I guess that was enough. So if I was buying this CD, not knowing the band, I guess I'd be pleasantly surprised. But there's not really anything that's like transcendent or hidden gem like with the band. But Runaway Train is a great song. So I'm going to give this a slight thumbs up also.
Just before I give my take, John, just to piggyback off of what you're saying about the song Misery, I do remember Dave Perner gave an interview, and he said that I don't know if it was crowning it his favorite part of the album or that song, but his proudest moment of a songwriter was the fact that he rhymed urinal with funeral. So he was very proud of himself for being able to, the way he pronounced those words that kept him to rhyme. So, that was... That's what he had to say about that.
I can think of something else having to do with something in the bathroom where I'd throw that song. So
yeah. All right. So this is it's hard for me to give an unbiased opinion of this. This album I played incessantly in the early mid '90s. This was an album I am as familiar with this record as probably any other record that we've covered in this entire podcast.
Really?
To be quite honest,
Really?
Yes. And I think there's a couple reasons. One, I distinctly remember first hearing of this band, this album, and "Somebody to Shove," the opening song. I was visiting my brother at college, and he had a roommate that was the first person I really heard about Pearl Jam from, and he had he seemed like he had like a bunch of like cool college. Like I was a freshman in high school, in college, I'm seeing all this college posters and CDs and stuff like that. And I remember seeing this record and him talking positively about it. So I the first song, "Somebody to Shove," I remember hearing and saying, okay, I want to get this. This was me feeling like I'm gonna be in with a cool band that nobody knows about, right?
Okay.
Like something like that was kind of like the thing. And then Runaway Train came out and blew up. And I still love them, right? But there was a connection for me with this band because for a moment I felt like I knew about something that nobody else did, right? And I felt like it put me in this, different category, right?
Yeah.
So I had a personal affection for this record, just it right off the bat because of that. And then I really like the rest of the album too, right? John, I think everything you're saying here is fairly accurate. It's a very 90s sound, and I think over time my interest in this album certainly has waned. But I still really very much enjoy it, and I think that there is some variety in here. I do like there's a mixture between like a faster and even heavier song. You said there's not much edge, and generally that's true, but there are songs like, there's a little bit of edge to, Somebody to Shove, and 99% in particular, and April Fool's kind of a grimier, kind of song as well. So you've got for Soul Asylum heavy, you have a heavier sound, right? It's not Helmet, of course, but it's still a little bit heavier. And then you've got like more ballads, like whether it be a Runaway Train or Homesick or New World, which I think kind of complement the other sounds pretty well. Sunmaid's kind of, I'd never cared for that song. That was kind of like that's kind of like a little bit of a throwaway tune for me. But even listening to it this time around, I did, I liked the flow of the record, and I've always liked the song Without a Trace. That's why I kind of put it on there. I think it's probably my favorite song towards the latter part of the record. It's just got like a very, it's like a very clean, upbeat, type sound, very 90s, and I that this was around the time that I was starting to get more into that. I was veering away from my hair metal roots and, kind of getting more into alternative rock and thinking that I was cool because of that. So, I don't disagree with anything that you guys are really saying. I think that this, it's not an album that I've gone back to. Like I said, I listened to it a ton, but it also got to the point where I was like, yeah, I still like it, but I can't say that I love this record, right? That it's always been like tip top for me. There was a period of my life where it was, and it's just it's faded, which is okay. I think a lot of music can do that, but
too.
Yeah, but it also speaks to the fact that this is not a classic record. Right. In 1992, 93, 94 for Matt. Yeah, this was a classic record. This was like nonstop in my CD player. So I am thumbs up. There's a nostalgic piece to this, but it's in the context of all the albums that we're covering in this show. Yeah, it's kind of in that mid range for me probably, but I'm still going thumbs up for it because I enjoy it. It's got the vibes that I like, whether it's the country vibe or just the the alt rock vibe, or there is I wouldn't say grunge, but more a song that rocks out a little bit more. It hits a lot for me. So slight thumbs up for me. Yeah.
Nice.